Okay, so here's a tent I've been working on. It's a Stansport tent. I think it's called the Scout, and it weighs 3.8 pounds when you start out, but I cut the floor out, and it had steel end poles and steel stakes and everything. I think it's down under at 1.5 to 2 pounds right now, you know, not including the trekking poles. And I just set it up yesterday. And I put some netting down here, like, you know, because there's no floor, and it's lifted up a little bit on the front, so this will hopefully keep the bugs out. But it tapers down to the other end, where I've actually got the end of the tent sitting on the ground, so it's lifted in the front. Oh, there you can see it better, how the mesh kind of tapers down. I stapled the mesh to the tent with little staples and then I put a little duct tape edge on the thing. And then it rained really hard last night, so let's see what happened. Looks like this fabric got wet. I don't know if this is a good tent. See right there, the fabric looks wet. That's not a shadow. But up here, interestingly, on the most flat part, it's just beaded up water in here, and that's, you know, where it's most flat. Over here is pretty angled. It's kind of interesting. So let's see if it got wet in here during the night. This tent has these little, well, I'm not going to worry about those. I went ahead and put a sleeping bag in here. I was thinking of sleeping in here, but then it was raining so hard, I thought, don't want to do that. Jeez, I'm going to have to somehow set this camera down for a second, or use the camera. I need two hands here. Okay, so here's the inside of the tent. Let's see what's going on. Oh, there's a few little drops right there, but it is a few. The back here is dry, completely dry, even though there's this window here that was open because it does its rolly thing on the outside, so it kind of, let me turn around. So the bottom end is fine. Now, let's go to the top end. Okay, we did have those few drops in the center, but that was nothing. There's a little, I think that's just a little bit of moisture here, but not enough to ruin your insulating capability. And here at the front, I've got a little moisture here. This obviously came in through the door, because the door doesn't have a zipper, only for the mesh part. And I probably could have tied it better and prevented this. That moisture, I think, could have been prevented. Would have been if you were inside feeling it, you know. So basically, it's dry, you know. It's just, I mean, it really did rain pretty hard last night. And this part that was, that looked soaked on the outside, it's not coming through. So the tent held up. Looks pretty good. So this would be a viable alternative, I think, to an expensive sub 2 pound tent. This was a $30 tent, and I spent about $5 on the netting at an Army surplus store, and I got a little duct tape, which is, you know, it's such a little amount of duct tape, really. And you need some trekking poles. And you got yourself a really lightweight tent. Okay. Okay, so here's the tent in its bag. It's cords. So again, it's that tent I just showed you with the floor removed and the mesh on there. The original bag, you know, it hardly fills the bag anymore. So let's see how much it weighs. It weighed 3.8 pounds originally, with the heavy metal holes and everything. This is just the tent and the guide lines. No stakes in here. So you got to add stakes. But right now it's about, I'd say 1 1/3 pounds. So if you added some really lightweight stakes, I think you'd be right at 1.5 pounds for this $30 tent. And the bag's big enough. Here's a sleeping pad I use. I think you could probably fit this in here too now. I'd have to work with that a little bit more, but basically it's going to fit, you know. I just didn't fold it the right dimensions. There's plenty of room in this bag because there's extra slack still. So you can have your tent and your pad in this bag, no problem. And a few stakes. It'd take 4 stakes. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stakes would be probably the best, but if you use those really light ones, they don't weigh much. Okay.